Welcome to the Bravo Charlie Club podcast, making you 12 and a half minutes more awesome each week. He's Ben. I'm Richard. Let's go. Ben, how are you this week?
I'm great. I'm looking forward to this episode, mate. Episode 53, the special
53?
edition. We're doing
Special
a deep
edition
dive.
episode this week, folks. Yes, Ben has just got back from Japan.
I have.
I'm going to Japan very soon. And so I thought we might do a deep dive into all things Japan. What do I need to know to maximize my Japanese experience, Ben?
Yeah, and you'll have everything. I just want to define the circumstance under which I was in Japan, just so that people know this wasn't just a booking a holiday. Yeah,
someone didn't smuggle you in. You weren't like hijacked or anything.
Pretty much. I'm very easy to smuggle. I'm petite. So no, it was work related. I went for a convention, but I arrived for a couple of days before the convention. Did the convention. My wife was with me. Tanya was with me. But also during this time, I also had a side trip to Korea, which will certainly come up in our discussion. And then when I came back to Japan, I had some additional time.
So how much free time did you have, like over the journey?
So we're gone for 16 days. I probably had about 8 days of free time. Yeah, about half. Yeah, so it was and 6 days of work and 2 days basically travel, based on that. So there you go. Hey, before we start, I've got one question for you. You know, when you travel, are you curious like to what people are taking photos of? Like, especially when there's loads of tourists around and you turn around to try and work out what it is that they're capturing and then wondering why you didn't think to take a photo of that. Sometimes I feel like I don't take enough photos. Like my daughter will come back and she'll have 6,000 photos from a 3-day trip. And I'm just wandering around checking things out. And the photos that I've got are actually quite random. Like it's just things that I've noticed. There's no sunsets and mountains in there. It's like someone's weird jumper or something.
Picture of some food.
Like? Yeah. What do you like as a photographer? I do take photos of food. Yes, I do like that.
Actually, you know what? I like to take pictures of people taking pictures of things.
Yeah.
So like you go to Pisa or the Eiffel Tower or something, and there's all those people trying to do that whole perspective thing where they look like they're trying to hold the tower up or something, and you take the picture of the angle of 7 or 8 people all just standing there with their hands in the air in this stupid pose. You think that is hilarious?
One of my very favorite photos that I've taken is exactly that. I was standing at the back of the room where the Mona Lisa hangs, and all of these people like holding up their phones, just trying to get a photo of the Mona Lisa.
It's small, right? It's quite a small picture.
And I've got a photo of about 150 people of phones in the air, and it just looks hilarious. Like, and then there's a picture right off in the distance. So, anyway, that's enough about France. We're on to Japan. Hit me with a question. Let's go.
So I wanted to start with temples because, like, Japan's got a very strong temple game. Is it like when you go to the UK and the first time you see a castle, you're like, wow, that's incredible. That's the castle that, I don't know, James III smashed with his cannon. Yep. And then you go in and you have a look around and you're like 2 hours, 3 hours in the castle. You walk around the turrets. Yeah, okay, fantastic. It's got some big impressive garden. Then you drive down the road and you're like, look, it's another castle. And it's kind of old and it's maybe in a bit better condition. The grounds might be a bit bigger. It's got a few different trees, but it's basically the same kind of thing. And then by the time you get to sort of like the 5th one, you're like, I'll just hang out in the parking lot and talk to strangers. You guys can go and do the tour. Look, I know I'm underselling how glorious the temples are in Japan, but do you get temple overload? Do you just do you max out on temples on like day 2 and you're like, I can't?
I think you can. Yeah. I think you can. So my wife actually predicted this exact response, and she took me to the best temple that she could. I think pretty sure we went to the Emperor's Temple in Tokyo on the second day.
Like the Imperial Palace.
Yeah, we went there. So, and I don't remember. She went to a couple more, and she went to a castle in the north, which she said was quite beautiful. But yeah, there's a lot of temple action going on, but also in particular the Japanese gardens. Like you think you've seen the most beautiful Japanese garden you've ever been, and then you walk 500 meters down the road and there's another one and it's just as beautiful. So yeah, it's hard to not sort of become a bit diluted in that view, because they've all got a story too. But I think you have to sort of follow.
Thousands of years old, right? So.
Yeah, yeah. The history behind those, and look, the one that's in the UK too. That the huge history as well. But yeah, I actually only went to one temple, so I can't say without a shadow of a doubt that they all got.
So 100% of them were awesome.
Yeah, and it was really, really cool. Like, and if temples are your thing and you could find a nuance in going to the next one, then you should do it. I do remember a lot of walking though, like because the imperial palace had like massive gardens of its own. So I got to tick two things off at once, because I wanted to see a temple and I wanted to see a beautiful garden. I did go to more gardens. One of them, honestly, or a few of them just by accident, because you're trying to cut through, like trying to yeah, it wasn't like I'd gone, oh, it's a beautiful garden. No, I'm just walking straight through because I want to get to that next spot over there.
That's excellent. So stumbled into some amazing gardens. Yeah.
Yeah. They've got temples covered. You should go to one for sure.
Fantastic. So on to the food.
Yeah.
What was the weirdest thing you ate?
So
Japanese food probably very different to what we have in the West. Yeah. It's sort of like it works quite differently, the whole food thing there sort of too, doesn't it? Like a big convenience store kind of culture. And
well, I mean, in terms of the weirdest thing, I mean, I eat a lot of Asian food anyway. In my role, I tend to travel into Asian areas and get exposed to that. And so, but they do eat whole of body. Like they don't leave anything unprepared. But the weirdest thing I actually ate was a fruit sandwich from 7-Eleven. And it was, if you can imagine, white bread, crust cut off, filled with whipped cream, and then, filled with strawberries and orange and kiwi fruits, and served as the triangle, sandwich that you would pick up in a standard convenience store, which might have ham and cheese and tomato or something in it.
So fruit salad sandwich.
And it was a thing. This wasn't sort of like this special. Like, I saw them everywhere. Like, and so in terms of the weird, that was the most it wasn't weird. It was just unexpected, and it sent my blood sugars through the roof too. For the so,
yeah, there you
go. So, but to your point about the convenience angle, I don't know what the stat is, but you could eat in 7-Eleven breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you would eat well. Like, as one of our listeners said, you're not booking a table for 10 at 7-Eleven, but you're not going to starve either. So
the food's pretty decent there, right? They have like those little rice triangle things and all that sort of stuff.
I've forgotten the name now.
Onigiri?
Onigiri, something like that. Yeah.
I'm probably murdering the language there. Sorry, everyone from Japan.
I was going to say inari, but that's the egg that covers the rice. Yeah, no, go with onigiri. We'll run with that.
Excellent. And did you go on the train, the high-speed train? Did you get some Shinkansen?
Yes.
Shinkansen.
Yes. We got on the Shinkansen, which is the bullet train. And I got to say, though, to the Japanese, it's just public transport. So, you expect this whole experience where, the bullet train, it's like a plane and it's ready and waiting for you, and you go and find your allocated seats and stuff like this. Yes, your seats are allocated because they're just being precise, but you better be ready when it shows up, because, we had one trip which we went 300 kilometers and it stopped 3 times. So if you miss getting off, and it happens, you could be 100 kilometers down the road before you being able to get off the thing. And in fact, we had people at our convention who missed an internal stop, and they were 15 kilometers down the road. And this was like a really short stop, because they weren't ready. They thought, the plane that feels like a plane, the train would pull up. And they'd have plenty of time to disembark, but it's public transport.
So you got like a couple of minutes to get off, and then it's on. Then it's off.
Yeah.
And was it on time? Like, were they all sort of like?
Yeah, I think they apologise if they're more than 12 seconds over time. Yeah, they definitely were on time. There was no doubt about it. Like, you knew that was your train. It has space for luggage. So as you get on, there's a space to put your luggage in there.
Yep.
It was relatively popular. We didn't have any trouble getting our luggage on. And by the way, we were there in Golden Week, which is, in Australian terms, that's the equivalent of traveling between Christmas and New Year. Or in,
Right.
Think of the most popular, for listeners overseas, think of the most popular public holiday week in your country, and that's what Golden Week is for Japan. So it was
does that
busy.
make it a difficult time? Does it make it just super busy?
Yeah, super busy. Super, like the volume of people, I don't think I'd experienced something like that. Like, I think Tokyo's 15 or 17 million.
The greater area is like 35 or something, isn't it?
But that number again travel in to work.
Yeah,
and then you've got the tourists, and even just domestic tourists, like people coming down, or up from Kyoto or down from Hokkaido or whatever to Tokyo. So the volume of people was insane. I've been to some big cities, but this was next level. Yeah.
Can you take a bike on the Shinkansen? Does they have like a little bike racks near the door or something?
Yeah, I reckon that would be frowned upon. But to be honest, you're allocated a carriage, so it may well be that you can buy a ticket for your bike and there's a place to put it. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I'd be making it up if I said I did. But did you
get around everywhere on PT, like public transport? Was it like
is Uber public transport?
Sure, sort of. Private transport.
So actually, in last episode, I was saying how I was trying to download an app, and I eventually gave up. There's an app called Go, which is the Japanese taxi app, and it's just a little bit more useful because you can be quite specific and stuff. But I ended up just using Uber to order cars, and the Uber in Japan actually just orders a Japanese taxi anyway. But the best thing that I loved is you could order the Uber, but you could actually pay cash to the driver. There's multiple ways that they solve that. I'm being a bit flippant. I used Ubers a little bit because I just was, time poor and compressed in terms of wanting to get around. But Tanya used the public transport extensively. She went everywhere, and she found it quite exceptional to move around, but very, very busy. That was definitely not lost on her. So, and it's cheap too. So in terms of public transport, for anyone with an iPhone, if you've ever added a card to your wallet, there are actually transit cards already preloaded into the iPhone, and I think that'd be on the Android devices as well. And the iCoca or the Suica card is actually a preloaded transit card. And so you add it to your Apple Wallet, and then you can top it up directly.
You just tap it when you're going through the stations and stuff.
In fact, you just tap your phone. You don't even have to have it open because it's got the Fast Pass or the Express Pass. If that's activated, you just literally tap your phone. And,
cool.
And it's cheap. So I think we put like 1,000 yen on there, and it got us 3 or 4 rides. And towards the end, we were getting really specific. Like my very last top up was like 239 yen, so that I knew I ended up with 0 left on the card, because you can't bring the cash back off it, but you can top up the exact amounts. And the thing that I was finding was if you put the destination into Apple Maps, it actually told you what the cost of the fare was.
Yeah, wow.
And so it says it's going to be 270 yen, and so I would put that amount on and tap, and away you go. So it was a pretty simple way of moving around. So you don't need cash for that.
What was the 3 most awesome things you did or saw, aside from the temples?
Aside from the temples, can I only have 3?
Just 3.
I'm going to tell you one.
3 highlights.
Okay, I got to tell you the one highlight that just jumps out above all else was I had my bag searched in a Japanese domestic airport, or not a regional airport, and I'm talking like fully emptied in front of me. And I actually thought that was quite awesome. And I had to work really hard to keep keep the smile off my face.
Out on the table, and they went through everything.
So what happened was we went to the convention and then we went north. And so I flew from a regional airport. It's called Sendai in north of Tokyo to Korea because I had to go to Seoul for a side trip. And then a few days later, I flew back into a different regional airport in Japan. And so I was gone for like 2 days. And I was standing there trying to tell them I was on a 14-day holiday and I've got carry-on only, which I do. And when they're emptying my bag in front of me, I'm like looking at it going, this must look so dodgy. I've flown from Sendai to Seoul and a couple of days later back into a different airport. I've got one change of clothes. I've got my massage gun and like some souvenirs from the whiskey distillery that I'd been to. Like, it was just, and like, they were emptying everything, just convinced that the only Caucasian on the plane who was a foot taller than everyone else was going to have, some sort of,
contraband.
Contraband, that's the word I was after. Thank you. So that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And as I said, I had to work really hard to keep the smile on my face because I was finding it quite hilarious. And the person that was, emptying my bag was just being professional. And I was like, good on you. You're doing your job well. I would pick me up if I saw the same thing. So, and just a side note on Seoul, fastest drivers in the world, hey? Like, no doubt. They'll give way to buses as long as the bus can accelerate like a Formula One car. Like, and also, Korea, I think, has banned overweight people. And there was this one time when I was getting a caricature of me drawn, and I don't think the artist liked the fact that I carry a few extra kilos, so she drew me thin. And it's awesome. It's my favorite picture of myself. I've been edited. I'll put a picture of that into the inner sanctum for everyone to have a look. But look, the top three things I think. I went to a distillery, a Japanese distillery, and
Japanese distillery.
That I love. I love Japanese whiskey, so that was an absolute highlight. I'm a big fan of knives. I can't tell you why, but I love both. Everyday carry knives and also just chef's knives and stuff. And so I went to a knife shop and that was
chef knives or like what did you souvenirs?
I bought a folding knife there, so that was really cool. And I went to what was basically considered the radio controlled car mecca, Super Ragicon, which was I'm just a big kid, and I went to this store and just geeked out in there. And luckily, I had a friend of mine who spoke Japanese, and he did all the negotiating for me, trying to find all the parts that I couldn't locate because it's so big. It was like 2 levels. And Tanya was with me, and she went up to another level. She goes, "You got a whole track. They got a racing car track up there as well." Like,
wow!
It was, and I didn't even go up there. I was so busy looking through all the stuff they had. It was, that was cool. That was awesome. That actually really was awesome. So there you go. That's my 3 things.
Fantastic. When you're traveling and you're in another culture, right? Often there'll be some things that just work different there. Was there any sort of surprises that you had? Things like good or bad, or just things that kind of like work different that you're like, oh, that's a little bit weird.
Yeah. I think, everyone talks about Japanese efficiency and Japanese politeness. And I don't think I was actually prepared for how efficient they actually are. And I love efficiency, don't get me wrong. But I'll give you an example. I went into one public toilet, and I think they were so efficient. It was playing running water, to make the queue move quicker, to make the guys, do their business and get out, because we don't want to cause
through the speakers, like over a PA sort of thing.
It was playing running water. So that was, you talk about efficiency and then you talk about next level. By the way, what's the deal with heated toilet seats? Like,
it's a thing everywhere in Japan, is it?
They're everywhere.
I guess it snows. Maybe it gets cold. That's good. Does that encourage you to stay in the bathroom for longer than you should? I don't know.
Oh, I could do. But I hate that whole warm toilet seat feel, and then suddenly you're permanently having it, even if
And
no
then they're
one's
all
been
like
in
that.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all like that. We'd heard about how they push people onto the train carriage.
Train stuffers. Yeah, I've seen that on
and it's a
YouTube.
job.
Yeah.
But Tanya. So I never experienced this, but Tanya did. She actually witnessed and was part of being crushed onto a train, and she found that quite intimidating. I think
she's full on. Yeah,
she's a well-traveled person, but even there, she was sitting in the carriage watching all these people get forced on, and just like, I'm not too sure if I could put up with this on a daily basis. So that was during the peak. It wasn't every time. I traveled with her a few times. Clearly, we were off peak, and it didn't happen. Like, it was full in some cases, but she actually saw at peak time it being people being pushed on. And I think the size, again, she's a well-traveled person. She got lost in Shinjuku Station. She said it took her 30 minutes.
Station. It's supposed to be huge. Yeah.
It took her 30 minutes to find the exit. I went to Tokyo Station, like Central Station, which I assumed was going to be bigger than Shinjuku. And she's like, nah, you got no idea. And she's right, because I didn't go. But Shinjuku, I think, is next level because of all of the levels that it has. Whereas Tokyo is fairly clear. You one level for Shinkansen and next level for the JR and the next level for the local trains and stuff. I think the funny thing that I saw, which I loved, this will stick in my memory forever. It was in a train station. The Japanese are so polite that I watched a guy pull up behind a couple of girls and then wait for the oncoming pedestrians and then pull around them. Like, he actually did an overtaking maneuver, but he was walking. And so it was, in other, like certainly in Western cities, like that person would just walk down the left and run into whoever was, coming towards them. But he literally pulled an overtaking maneuver while he was walking, and that I wish I could have videoed it. Like, I obviously didn't know it was going to happen, but it was that was fun. In terms of the bad, you can find the good and bad in everything. The one thing which sort of made me laugh, there was an announcement on the train, like a recorded announcement, asking passengers. Actually, it was on the bus that I took out to the distillery. There was an announcement on the bus asking passengers not to talk. And it was actually more annoying, I thought,
that they played on repeat
than people just talking. Like, it just came on this loop every 60 seconds asking you not to talk. And I'm like, I'd much rather just listen to people chat about their day. So that was it. I mean, as I said, you can find the bad and everything, but that one was pretty funny. And I kept hitting my head on those hand rings in the bus, like, because I'm a foot taller than the average national, and so those hand rings were like at my chest height. I went to walk off and I was like, donk, 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 like it was like a cartoon a couple of times. And I couldn't help but notice, and this isn't a bad thing, this is probably a reflection of why they've got some of the biggest longevity in the world. The elevator payloads in Japan, 1,000 kilos allows for 15 people in an elevator. So what's that, an average of 66 kilos? I'm confident that if I walked into an elevator here in Brisbane, it would be we'd be allowing more than 66 kilos per person. So that's not a bad thing at all. It caught my eye because I kept seeing it. So there you go. There's a summary of a few things.
That's fantastic. And so, did you do any sort of random exploring? I know you're quite structured with your holiday itineraries, but did you do any just kind of like casual roaming or wandering about?
So you'll love the fact, you're right, I am structured, and especially given the time compression I was on, I had very specific places that I wanted to get to. But there was 2 times that I was able to do some random exploring. One, when I flew into Kanazawa and eventually got past customs, I'd arrived there quite well because Tanya stayed in Japan, right? So she just kept traveling, and she was going to meet me over at Kanazawa. So I got there a few hours before her, and I knew the general direction of the knife shop that I wanted to go. And I was like, I don't need to pull out the map for the whole time, so I'll just wander along in this direction. And I found a ramen bar there. And again, I couldn't sit up at the actual bar, and there was some booths, and there was a couple of American men who'd walked in behind me, and they were actually giving me grief for not being able to operate the vending machine that was in Japanese. And so I finally got the order through with help of the person serving, and then they came to have their turn, and they couldn't operate it, which is hilarious. So I turned around and said, "Do you want some help from the person who's learned how to do it once?" And so I ended up sitting with them. And so that was one of those cool little travel things where I was uncomfortable at the bar, so I went and sat with them in their booth, and then I told them I was going to this knife shop, and so they came with me. And then we found a whiskey bar across the road. So it was just a really cool experience. And Shohei Ohtani, who's a very famous Japanese baseballer, was playing a game live, not in Japan, but it was on television. And so I was watching. It was like one of those, you couldn't have planned this kind of moments. So that was pretty cool. And the second one was actually initiated by Tanya. She knew that there was a samurai district in Kanazawa. And she said, why don't we just walk? And we'd actually chosen accommodation quite near. So we just walked over there, and we got into the general area, and then we turned off the map and just walked around it. And it was quite interesting. They had
So what's a samurai district? What is?
Well, it was where the samurais used to live in all together in the same area, and it was a protected area.
So it's themed or something, or it's like
it's not themed so much, but it's just beautiful. It's all well kept because the samurais are so well regarded, and it was, and it's still hundreds of years later kept in a pristine state. But even like the gates and the fences, like they're made of clay and hay, and stuff like this. Wow. It was quite a interesting walk through there, the cobbled pavestones, and reading about how they use the canals, which are still running to move wood around to build the houses and stuff. It was, I found that quite interesting. And that certainly wasn't something that I had planned to go and see. Tanya knew about it, but we sort of just rolled over there. And I think the other one, Akihabara, and I mentioned I specifically wanted to go to Super Rajicom, the hobby store, but the Akihabara is like a suburb of just electronics and collectibles. Like you could get lost walking around that for, and there's one street called Kitchen Town, and there's, there's stuff everywhere that you could just get lost in a day. There's a fair bit of retail therapy going on in Japan, I think.
Yeah. I love it. All those little laneways and alleys and stuff. Good vibes. Yeah. I can't wait. Any funny lost in translation stories where you sort of, aside from trying to order the ramen, like anything when, you sort of like something just didn't line up, or
everywhere.
You were trying to mime the words in English or something, or
if I pulled out my phone, they are the photos that I take. Hey, like the I think I told you about the 24-hour vending machine, which was called the No Sleep Shop. But there seems to be a compulsion to translate everything, but it's almost like they should just get someone else to do the translation for you. Like the global liquor store called the World Liquor System, I can live with that. That's not far off, Dr. Drive for a car mechanic, that works. That works.
Yep.
The local hairdresser called the Smiley Cut House. I think there's some bad business going on behind the doors of that one. I don't need a hairdresser too often, but I'm not walking into a Smiley Cut House. I did actually go, speaking of Lost in Translation, I actually went to the bar that's featured in the movie Lost in Translation.
Oh, the hotel bar, like the one at the top.
Yeah, right at the top of the building. Yeah, the Bill Murray movie, Scarlett Johansson. it's the first time. Hey, if we mention Scarlett Johansson, can we tag her in our like socials, and then she'll want to come on the show? That'll happen. It's the first time I've paid a cover charge to go into a bar in a long time, if ever. And the cover charge was an eye-watering amount. I think they just know that they're a popular bar, so they just charge that because they can.
Yeah,
and off they go. And interestingly, in that bar, I left my jumper, and I walked out, and then I walked back in, and it wasn't a sort of polite, here's your jumper, thanks for coming. It was like a, please don't forget your jumper. Like it was almost an admonishment for leaving, inconveniencing the next guest.
Yes.
So there are lost in translation stories all over, but in all countries. And I found the humour in most, so it's something to look forward to finding. And I'm sure there's lost in translation ones here as well. Seeing the crocodile signs and the don't swim ravines.
Totally.
Catherine. Yeah.
So it sort of sounds like you kind of had a pretty strong game of booking a hotel and then sort of having the areas that you wanted to see or explore around the hotel area. Was that roughly your sort of strategy for booking hotels?
Yeah, look, I mean, the public transport's so strong that I don't think you can go wrong. Like if you're asking, is there an optimal area to stay? I think just fit your budget. We stayed first in Shinagawa, which is south of the city, but not far, and then in Shinjuku, which is northwest. And I assume Shibuya, which is that famous scatter crossing, which they use in a lot of the movies. Like if you've ever seen an end of world movie and they bomb Tokyo, it's the Shibuya scatter crossing that they've bombed. So maybe don't stay there. I think they're all popular spots. I think as long as you're walking distance to a train station, and we always seem to be, like the Shinagawa, we were probably 10 minutes, but there was a shuttle as well.
Yeah.
I think it was probably, I think I walked it once. It was like a 15 or 20 minute walk, but there was a shuttle from our hotel. So, they've got you covered there. But there's so much to do. Like you could probably stay in Shinjuku for a week and not really need to move around too much. Honestly, Tanya's the one we should be interviewing on this. She did everything. She would be much more interesting. But she definitely got around. Like I would see her that night, and she'd be like, I went off to this and that, and Harry Potter and Disneyland, and I've been and done kintsugi, which is the gold threading when they repair the plates, and there's so many things that she did, and I was just like, oh, okay, that's not anywhere near our hotel, but she was just happily getting around in public transport. So
yeah, awesome. And final question: would you go back? Would you go back? Did you feel like you had enough of Japan, or do you want more?
I'll definitely go back. But I mean, to put it in context, I'm not a person that goes back to many places. So I'm not rushing back. I've got friends who just love Japan. They would holiday in Japan every year. I've got other places that I'd like to see and take my family. But I definitely go back. There are circumstances where I would enjoy going back to Japan. The only thing I'd probably say is I might not go back to Tokyo. Like we're very lucky. It's such a big, population that there's major, like even from Australia, you can fly into Osaka and, you can fly into many different directly, so it's such a big nation. So yeah, Tokyo for me was probably a bit too big. And I think spending a significant amount of time there would probably be a little bit overwhelming for me. And also I'm not that maneuverable, like walking to public transport and that kind of thing would probably wear me out. So it's not my kind of holiday. I enjoyed it, but if I went back, I'd probably go looking for I think Kyoto was the original capital city before Tokyo sort of became, the mecca for Japan. And I think that sort of old school, vibe would probably interest me a little bit. So, yeah, I'd go back, but it's not my next trip. Does that make sense?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it was definitely in Japan and Tokyo. Hey, there's one more thought that I would like to add. I just found the breadth of cost so wide that you can go on any budget. Like you can spend big dollars and stay in the fancy hotels, no doubt, but you can also eat very cheap and very well and travel on a very limited budget. So, and the yen is quite devalued at the moment. So anyone who's taken our advice in past episodes and has a Wise card or something, transferring a few dollars across to the yen or pounds or whatever it might be right now is probably some smart thinking if you've got a trip coming up. So there you go. Get onto it. Enjoy your trip.
Awesome. Fantastic.
See you
Thanks
next week.
for tuning in.
Bravo Charlie Club out.
And that's the pod.